It's no secret that most journalists lean left, or that they would find a vulgar and far-left dinner speaker so funny. But the White House Correspondents Association extols its commitment to the First Amendment and an independent media. How independent, though, is the White House press corps that is so overwhelmingly leftist? How can it be independent? And how committed to free speech is a group that only invites comedians to their marquee dinner who attack the right? Let's examine this hypocrisy with Jeffrey Lord of the American Spectator, Lee Habeeb, host of Our American Stories, and Ari Fleischer, who was George W. Bush's first press secretary. Great to see all of you guys tonight. Let's start with you, Ari. Did you go to the dinner? You probably didn't go. You've been to enough of those things. I don't know if you were there or not.
I haven't been to one of those. I haven't been since I was at the White House. I'm happy to report.
So what was your reaction when you first started seeing the clips roll in?
You know, frankly, Laura, until I saw it on your show, I had no idea how vulgar it really was. I had seen a lot of the excerpts, things that were said about Kellyanne, things that were said about Sarah Huckabee. But I did not know just how bad it was. And it was bad when I heard about it. So, look, you know, the real problem here is that the press is killing themselves, and they just don't get it. They're an industry in decline, and they're in decline because half of America, the Republicans and conservative half, doesn't trust them. And evenings like this just make it worse. And the press still doesn't understand how bad last night was. When you hear Juan Williams defend it, when you hear one of the most reasonable liberals defend it, and as you pointed out, Laura, pan the crowd, see the laughter. The press doesn't get it.
Lee, I want to go to you. Lee was my old executive producer in radio and partner in crime, 17 years ago, back to law school. And Lee, it was your idea to play a lot of these sound bites tonight. So, you know, you said a lot of people didn't see this. They have to see just how vulgar and low it was to understand how far we've sunk with the media and the so-called defense of the First Amendment. But the double standard here is glaring for anyone who wants to see it, about the treatment of women, the Me Too movement, you know, I am woman, hear me roar, all that.
You know, what's funny, Laura, is for the last few weeks, we've heard the press excoriate the lack of vetting by the White House. They didn't do a proper job with a Veterans Affairs gentleman who was ultimately dismissed, and yet they couldn't vet this comedian. Don't they have YouTube? Don't they have Google? Can't they just watch this woman's performance on The Daily Show? What's fascinating, Laura, and what Juan missed, is that 95% of these jokes were aimed at Republicans. She didn't spread it around. She just targeted mostly women. 6 to 7 minutes straight were vile, repulsive jokes aimed at, and they weren't jokes, they were attacks aimed at women. And these weren't just jokes. It was like a public shaming. And it was just disgraceful. And to listen to the audience laugh, and we wish we could see who was laughing and at what, because these jokes were disgraceful, and the laughs continued, and they continued. And the key here, Laura, is that there was a winner here. There were two winners. One was the comedian, because my goodness, she's going to get a really big deal with HBO. She'll be following Bill Maher in the next 3 months. She was playing to her audience, a liberal set of journalists. And Trump, by the way, was a winner too. The smartest man not in the room. He was playing to his audience, America.
Yeah, Jeffrey Lord, you wrote a piece today for The Spectator about this, and this was supposed to be about the First Amendment and beating back those who would want to intimidate people from speaking out on any issue. Yet there was something desperately missing at Saturday night's dinner.
Well, that's right, Laura. But first, I have to tell you, I have breaking news that the Federal Elections Commission is starting to investigate the White House Correspondents Association for a multi-million-dollar contribution to the Trump campaign in 2020. You can see these clips that you played. You can see these clips that you played all through the election season, I guarantee you.
Let's go through 2018 first, Jeffrey. We're gonna aim toward the midterm,
right,
but go ahead.
Right. Good point. Good point. But you're absolutely right, Laura, and this is the kind of thing, and you should know that I asked the president of the White House Correspondents Association several days ahead of the dinner whether they would specifically be defending conservatives by name. I included you, Sean Hannity, Kevin Williamson, and I got no response. Total, complete silence. This is the serious thing here. Basically, this boils down to free speech for me, but not for thee. And when push comes to shove, they are not there for conservatives, and that is a real serious problem. And you see it not just in television and radio, but you see it on college campuses. Good Lord, when Ben Shapiro needs serious police protection, and there's a riot just to give a speech on a college campus, or Ann Coulter has to cancel something because of a threat of violence. Where are these people? There's not a peep to be heard from them, and it's disgraceful.
Ari, I want to go to you because, whether it's this comedian, ridiculing an abortion or talking about knocking the baby out, or the first daughter, Ivanka Trump, is described in the most disgusting manner. I think those are gifts to Americans who might be kind of, it's a midterm election cycle, I'm not going to get out and vote. I think the Democrats tend to always take it too far. They go too far to the left, and they end up offending people who might not even be all that political, but they find this gross. They find it gross. And this new millennial poll looks like 16,000 registered voters, 18 to 34, shows their support for Democrats over Republicans has slipped by about 9 percentage points over the past 2 years to 46% overall. And they increasingly say the Republican Party is a better steward of the economy. I think these Democrats, Ari, ought to be really careful about the supposed woke moment we might have here.
Well, I think I want to continue on this dinner, and the connection to the Democrats, I think, is not as direct. It was the press that did this. It wasn't the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party loves these dinners because they like to laugh at these jokes. But I think the future of this dinner, if it even has a future, is it should be Democrats only, Laura. Republicans should just stop going. Elected officials don't go. Staff don't go. Certainly President Trump won't go. But, I remember when I did used to go to the dinner, and the humor actually was pretty good back then. This was some 15 years ago. It wasn't as cutting or as nasty. But even then, it had a red carpet, it had Hollywood celebrities, the pre-parties, the post-parties. Goodness, how much on earth did they pay this comedian for this? At a time when newsrooms are going broke and laying people off, how much did they lay out for all the entertainment and the lavishness? This is not what the press is supposed to be about, and it's why the press is distancing themselves, especially from the blue-collar workers who elected Donald Trump, people who the Democrats and the press never saw their story prior to 2016. This is the press's greatest problem. They are so disconnected from their readers and the viewers. It's one of the biggest reasons why trust in the media is dropping, and people don't watch or read them in the same numbers they used to.
Lee Habeeb.
Laura? 92% of the jokes were aimed at Republicans, and 92% of the journalists are Democrats. And a lot of Americans are starting to see journalists as an arm of the Democrat Party. And that's really the problem. They've got to get out in the country and meet the American people more and respect them.
Yeah, Jeff Lord, last word.
Last year, I was at this dinner, and the president was here in Harrisburg. And I was getting texts during the dinner while everybody was mocking the president in the dinner from a reporter covering the rally here and talking to people, and she said he's more popular now than he was when he was running for election, and of course he carried Pennsylvania. This kind of thing shows the real divide here, and it's pretty sad, but it's pretty definite, no question.
And Donald Trump said, I'd rather be with the real people than the Washington people, and I think he nailed it. Guys, fantastic panel. Thanks so much.